This is the Museum of Byzantine Culture in Thessaloniki in northern Greece, and it's a wonderful museum to visit to look at mosaics. In fact, it's the first museum that I ever went to look specifically at mosaics because I was living in Thessaloniki at the time. It's a great museum for many reasons, but partly because it's almost always empty, apart from groups of school children, and also because it has these fantastic mosaic signs. In the first room that you get to, you see these wall mosaics, which are from a church called Achiropitos, and they date from the 5th century. They're wonderful fragments made of smalti, some of it with gold leaf, and it's just a design of acanthus branches and a fountain, which is very similar to designs that you see in much earlier mosaics across the Roman Empire. These mosaics are very different. There's no gold or glass or bling. They come from a basilica and they date from the 6th century. They're made of stone and they were floor decorations, and in many ways they are totally unexceptional. But I have a particular fondness for them because I began my mosaic career while living in Thessaloniki in the early 2000s, and I used to come and visit them. And I love that leaf pattern which looks like repeat hearts, which you can see over there on the right. They might be unexceptional, but they are gorgeous. I love the simplicity of these birds, but there's nothing fancy about the designs. They're just ducks and lotus flowers made very roughly with only a few colours, and yet they are incredibly effective as designs. This mosaic of a deer is quite interesting, not least because there's a mosaic at the archaeological site of Stobi in northern Macedonia, which is incredibly similar to it. If you look at the body, you see the most beautiful blending of colours going from the black outline of the animal and gradually moving inwards to the lighter colours. So you go from black to a pinky red to an ochre by adding a little bit of the new colour as you work inwards, which is a common technique used to blend colours right up to today. Here are another couple of smalti fragments, this time from the Church of St. Demetrios in Thessaloniki, which was destroyed by fire in 1917. They are 1,500 years old and show the saint with two of his donors, those little figures nestled next to him like choir boys. And we also have this fragment of a peacock and an urn. The peacock is a very common design element in Byzantine and Roman mosaics, as it represented the concept of paradise and renewal. We are leaving this room and heading up to a room called Early Christian City and Private Dwelling, which also has a rather splendid mosaic in it. This mosaic was once on the floor of a reception room in a private house, so it would have been the first thing you saw when you entered the building. Unfortunately, the room in which it is housed now is a little bit gloomy. There are no windows, and so it's quite hard to fully appreciate it. But there are some really lovely details, including this dedication wishing happiness to the household, and the design of the 4 vine leaves, which look like hearts which join in the centre. The more you look at mosaics, the more details you can find which are intriguing and interesting. I haven't seen this design anywhere else, so clearly the designers and clients who commissioned this mosaic and others had a lot of freedom as to what they could include. There are other designs in this floor which are quite standard. You see them in other places, including these repeat circles and the fish scale pattern over there. As you move past the reception room floor, you will find a few more mosaic fragments which don't stand out in terms of the way that they were made or even in terms of their design, but it's quite nice to be able to get up so close to mosaics and to be able to see the way that they were made, how the tesserae were placed to fill the spaces. There are some quite common geometric designs here, and we also have this 3D effect, which is done very effectively in Pompeii, and some simple flower designs here too. The trouble with visiting any museum is that, of course, it is stuffed full of interesting things, and I can't help but look at them in terms of their potential as inspiration for future mosaics. Textiles, especially Coptic ones like this, often have wonderful patterns and images that would translate well to mosaic, and these tomb paintings are clearly very similar to mosaic designs, and you can store away little details from them to think about for your own work. I can't resist popping into this room, which has these beautiful stone slabs which were used to seal the entrances to graves. And they're also very reminiscent of mosaics in terms of the simplicity of the design. When you're making representational mosaics, you do tend to use clean, clear designs like you find here. Even within these pots, a lot of inspiration can be found. Now we are moving on to the last mosaic of the museum, which is another reception room floor mosaic, which you see ahead coming up. Unfortunately, this is another dark space, so it's not always easy to see. It's a pretty extensive floor, and you can see what I think are representations of the months of the year, those heads with writing next to them inside individual panels. And I think, and I wonder, in fact, if this is a zodiac. You can see a bull and some fish. I'm not quite sure what the lamb is doing and how it fits into things. And here we have another urn with birds, which is a very common motif in Roman and Byzantine mosaics. The layout of the floor generally is quite standard, so the panels are separated by a double-stranded guilloche pattern, a kind of twisted cord in different colours which you see throughout the Roman world. We are coming to the end of the museum now as far as the mosaics go. We're back in the foyer, but we must just pop into the shop, which is well worth a quick visit because it has mosaics for sale. So here we are. We've come to the end of the little tour, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, then please subscribe below.